I am going to tell you about Miriam, but I'm going to entitle this video Miriam and her family because I find it very difficult to talk about Miriam without talking about the rest of her family and even a little bit of the history. So I'm going to start with Joseph, which Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers who were very jealous of him. So they sold him into slavery. And while Joseph was in slavery, he was falsely accused and he was thrown into prison. While he was in prison, the king had some dreams that needed interpreted. Joseph was able to interpret them, and he actually became like the king's top dude. He was very highly favored, and he was able to save up food and save the entire area, including his own brothers who sold him into slavery and the rest of his family. But the Bible says right here in Exodus 1:8, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And when I looked at this knew not, it's the same knew not as Jacob knew not Rachel. But basically, the new king didn't know of Joseph. And he ruled these people with extreme rigor. He was very mean to them and wouldn't let them have days off. He wouldn't let them take a Sabbath rest. And he afflicted them very much. So he actually made a decree to kill all the male children and throw them into the river. And that's where we start talking about Miriam's mother and father right here. So, and there went a man, this is Miriam's mom and dad, also Aaron and Moses' mother and father. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and he took to wife a daughter of Levi. So they both are from the Levitical class. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took from him for him an ark of bulrushes. This word right here, an ark, is the same ark as Noah's ark when in the original Hebrew. This is the only other spot in the Bible that this word ark is used. It's for Moses and for Noah. An ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And in the interlinear Bible, this to wit means to know what would be done to him. So his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. And the daughter of the Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river. And the maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him. And she said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." So if Moses wouldn't have wept, maybe she wouldn't have had compassion. I don't know, but that's really cute. That she wept, and the baby wept, and she had compassion. Then said his sister to the Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go to call thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" And the Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go and get a maid." Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. So this to me is so beautiful because Moses' sister had literally the Pharaoh's daughter was going down to bathe. This is a little slave girl that not only didn't just throw her brother in the river, they built him an ark, but she also stood to witness, to know what would be done to him. That probably risked her life because it just probably did. They were not exactly obeying the king's order. But she had enough faith and enough gumption to go stand up and address the king's daughter, the Pharaoh's daughter. What should we do? And the Pharaoh's daughter agreed, and that's what they did. So let's go on. So they called the child's mother, and the Pharaoh's daughter. I want to make sure we're still on camera. We are. And the Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And the Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take the child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto the Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water. So not only did the child return to his own mother to be nursed, but she was paid to nurse her own child, and with the Pharaoh's daughter's consent. So that child was completely protected as she was nursing him. And so during this time, I don't know how old, it doesn't say here. I know I've read other places how old Moses was when he was returned, but for sure, for the time that he was with her, he was able to be educated in, however much his young little life, but he knew his mother and his family for those times during his nursing. So, and it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, and he went into his brethren, and he looked unto his brethren, and he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, and one of his brethren, and he looked this way and that, and he saw that there was no man, so no one was watching. He slew the Egyptian, and he hid him in the sand. And so that's what Moses did when he was grown. And then Moses, through following the Lord, Moses actually ended up being godly and listening to the Lord, and warned the Pharaoh several times to let the people go, and he wouldn't listen. There was many plagues upon the land, and on the first Passover also. And then the people were, fleeing from Egypt, and God came to them as a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Let's go ahead and read that verse. And the Lord went before them by day a pillar of cloud to lead them the way, and by night a pillar of fire, and to give by night a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of the fire by night from before the people. That's really beautiful. And then here is just a little picture I drew of Moses, through the help of God, parting the seas. And when the people walked out, they walked out on dry land. Not only were the seas parted, but they walked out on dry land. And I think that is just so beautiful. And then we come to this passage here. I'll try to get this in frame. And this is after they had parted the seas and went through. And then sang Moses to the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength, my song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him a habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast in the sea. He has chosen captains also are drowned. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They have sank to the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, he has become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, has dashed into pieces the enemy, and the greatness of thy excellency. Thou hast overthrown them. Thou hast rose up against thee. Thou hast sent forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of my nostrils the water were gathered together, and the floods stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praise, doing wonders? Thou stretched out thy right hand. The earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in day. Thou hast guided them thy strength unto the holy habitation. And the people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold. And the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab trembling shall take hold of them. The inhabitants of the Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. The greatness of thine army, the greatness of thy arm, they shall be as still as stone. Thy people pass over the Lord till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Thou hast bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, where thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of the Pharaoh went in with his chariots, and with the horsemen into the sea. And the Lord brought against the waters and the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And here's where we come to Miriam and her beautiful song. And I am going to hopefully have some people singing right here. So I'm going to pause this part of the video and we are going to splice it in. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he hath thrown into the sea. This is a victory song. This is a song that they are singing because they know that their feet went out on dry land, and yet they turned around and they watched their enemy defeated behind them. God did that, and they are singing in triumph. I made this sound as close to the olden days as I can, the music, and I am absolutely no songwriter. Well, I didn't have to write the song, Miriam did. She replied. And but I did have to write the music, and I'm no music writer, and I'm certainly no singer. But hopefully you just listen with ears that loves God, and it'll sound better. Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider he has thrown into the sea. Amen. That was me and Beth singing that. So I am just overwhelmed with the thoughts of the triumph that they had. This picture right here is to represent the manna that they got from heaven. That is food coming down from heaven to feed the people while they wandered in the desert. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven, and you and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. This is so beautiful. God wanted to see if they would walk in his law. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And the reason I wanted to touch on this is because some of you may not know that God created the heaven and the earth, and he created it in 6 days. And on the 7th day, he rested. And God says, for us that he made the Sabbath for us. The Sabbath is the seventh day, and we get a rest on that day. And it's beautiful. And right here, while they were wandering in the desert, Moses got the 10 Commandments. And God spoke these words, saying, I am the Lord, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee a graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt take the name of thou shalt not, take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless, for he guiltless that takes the name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Here we go, the seventh day. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou labor and do all thy work, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, and thou shalt not do any work. In it thou shalt not do any work. Nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor their stranger that was within their gates. Nobody that comes to our houses, nobody that comes into our, whatever our gates are. It used to be the gates of the city, a friend said. For in the 6 days the Lord made heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Where the Lord, I want to make sure you can see that. And rest on the seventh day, where the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and he hallowed it. The Sabbath day is blessed. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land, which the Lord God has given thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor the manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, or anything that is his neighbor's. And the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpets and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. Wow. So this is so beautiful. When they got the 10 Commandments, the Lord, they were literally with the Spirit of the Lord. They felt the presence of God. And if you notice here, I did want to point out that where it says, let me see if I can find it on here really quickly. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. God knew that so many of us would forget the Sabbath day. And it's when I first found out the Sabbath day, what made it really simple to me was, if you say the days of the week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that is the seventh day. It's very easy to remember that way. And next we are going to go to right here. It says, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman who he had married. That's Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. And then this picture I did draw myself because somebody asked last week in Bible study if I drew the picture. So I did draw this picture into my Bible. And I want to make sure it's all on camera. For he hath married an Ethiopian woman, and they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it. Oh, now the man Moses was very meek, above all men which were upon the face of the earth. So Moses was extremely meek. And the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and to Aaron and to Miriam, come out. Could you even imagine? God just says, come out to you. Come out, ye three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation, And they three came out, and the Lord came down, in a pillar of the cloud. Let me get my cloud. For those of you watching on YouTube, you're not going to know that I had the children in Bible study do these pillar of clouds. And it's the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. So at this point, I'm going to use this prompt. It turns on and lights up to represent the fire. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him I will speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not into dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall behold, where before then were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle." Could you even imagine facing God's wrath right here, where he's saying, how dare you? I've given you, basically, I'm speaking to you in your dreams. I'm speaking to you. You are a prophet, but how dare you say who I speak to and how? How dare you say how I bless other people and how I use other people? I couldn't even imagine facing God right here and being like so embarrassed of my actions. And behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, "Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one of dead, whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb." And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, "Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee." Aaron and Moses are both praying to the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, "If her father," and the Lord said unto Moses, "if her father but spit in her face, should she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out from the camp 7 days. And after that, let her be received in again." And Miriam was shut out from the camp for 7 days. There's that number 7 again. She was shut out for 7 days. And the people journeyed not until Miriam was brought in again. And afterwards the people removed her from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. Now, this is just really, really beautiful because they actually waited. Like, even though she sinned and even though she was cast out, they waited. They set camp and they waited. They did not travel until she was whole again and was welcomed back into the camp. So that is just beautiful to me. Then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. And upon looking it up, it's probably a part of modern day Syria. Speculatively, that's what people say. And this is one of Miriam's, this is a spot where the Bible talks about the genealogy of Miriam, Aaron, and Moses. There are no other children listed in the genealogy. And the name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, and the daughter of Levi, whom her mother bare to Levi in Egypt. And she bare unto Amram Aaron and Moses, and Miriam their sister. And unto Aaron was born Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, and Nadab, and Abihu died, and they offered strange fire before the Lord. And those that were numbered of them were 20 and 3,000, all males from a month old and upward. For they were not numbered among the children of Israel, because there was no inheritance given to them among the children of Israel. Another important lesson right there. And then this is the last place that I could find Miriam being referenced. I'm going to move this. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by way after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. And that was a memory that we were supposed to not go and take anything that when somebody lends you something, don't go inside and take it from them. I should have started reading this one up here. If a man be found stealing from any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then the thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. We shouldn't have evil among residing with us. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priest the Levite shall teach you. I commanded them, so you shall observe to do. Remember that the Lord thy God did unto Miriam, but by the way, after they were to come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend to thy brother anything, that thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. So when you lend to him, don't go back, and if he promised to pay you back, you can't go into his house and go take your money back that he promised to pay you back, is the way that I'm interpreting that. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man whom dost thou lend shall bring out of the pledge abroad unto thee. So he'll bring it outside to you. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. And in any case thou shalt deliver him with the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may not sleep in his own remnant, and bless thee, and it shall be righteous unto thee before the Lord thy God. And thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of a brethren or no, or if he, whether he be a brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor and sitteth his heart upon it, and lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. So, in closing, I am just thinking so much about how amazing it was for Miriam to be brought, like literally to be raised a slave, to be brought out of slavery, to watch miracles happen in the desert, to watch her brother, the Lord working through her brother, both of her brothers, and for her own power and authority that the Lord gave her for her own blessings, and not only what she saw from them, but she herself. And it's just beautiful to me. So I hope that this blessed you in some way. If those of you on YouTube have any questions, please comment down below. I'll answer them as best as I possibly can. And at this time, we'll be opening up the Bible study to questions.